Well, welcome to December's Team Talks Tuesday. I just realized this is the last Team Talk Tuesday for 22. That's a lot of twos there. Today we're going to look at kind of a few things of what's new in Teams. I'm not going to go over everything that's new because we have a lot to cover in Excel. So we're going to dig a little deeper into Excel today, talk about some XLOOKUP and some pivot tables, and a few other things that I've come up with. And then at the end, if we have time, if the people on the line will do a question and answer. So let me start off with sharing my screen, and I'm going to include the computer audio. So hopefully I don't get interrupted during this training. So let me just share my screen with computer audio. There we have it. You should be able to see my screen. Let me make sure I'm on Do Not Disturb. So there we go. So the first thing that I'm going to introduce to you that's new is a way that you can video chat respond. So I'm going to pick on Christy here. Since I'm on my camera and mic, I don't have the option now, but when you're not on there, let me show you where to look for this. Since I'm in a meeting, I cannot show you this. Okay, so down here at the bottom of a chat, you'll see a camera here. So what you're able to now do, it says video clips aren't available during meetings and calls. Okay, so when you're not in a meeting and call, let's say that I'm chatting back and forth with Christy here, and I just want to explain something. I can actually do a video recording. It'll pick up, I can choose which camera and which mic to use. And so that'll be right here. What's coming soon? It's starting to roll out in our tenants. Some people are seeing it. I can right click on the send button and I can schedule when I want to send a reply. So let's say that I get a question and it's after hours, or the first time I look at it, it's say after 5 o'clock. I want to go ahead and type the response while I'm thinking about it, but I don't want to go out until after 8 o'clock, during work hours. So I can go ahead and type the message, schedule a reply at a later time, and then hit send, and it'll send it at that time. So another new feature, and I'm not sure if I can again show you why we are in a meeting, but we'll try. If I go out to office.com, and if I click on the waffle menu, the app launcher, and I click on stream. Now that is the video library. It's where you can edit videos, anything in OneDrive or in SharePoint Teams. I'll show you what you can do in stream. So one thing I can do in stream, I can generate a recording, a self-recording. So if I hit a new recording here, it will pop up and I can just record myself if I wish. Up here at the top at the 3 dots, it always just means more options. So let me just click on more options and I can choose which camera. Let me try this 930 camera and see if that's being used. It is being used. Okay, I want to just record mic only. So again, when you're not in a meeting, you can come up here and you can choose which camera and which mic that you want to use. And then you can just click record. It's going to give you a countdown, and you can say, hey, everybody, welcome to the new record self. And another thing you could do, you can also record not only yourself, but maybe you want to record a desktop, something on your screen that you can share with other people. You can come over here and you can have a board. And let's say that I have a little graph board and I can draw on it. So I can give some demonstrations and stuff, okay? So let me just get out of this, hit stop, and then I can go through, hit next, so I can retake and all of that. Okay, that's just a new, if you go to stream and just click on new recording. Another thing you can now do, and in case you weren't aware, you can upload any recording like an MP4, a video file. If you put that in SharePoint or on your OneDrive, you can have it generate a transcript for you, okay? And I'll show you that. But one thing they've added now that you can edit your transcript in line. So if I come down here and if I click on a part of my video, I just click here, it'll jump to that part. And maybe there's something that's I need to correct. Now, I will mention you don't have to train your microphone for this transcript. It holds a world record for the most accurate transcription without having to train your voice, which is really nice. Just to give you an idea of the way you generate a transcript, let me just get out of this. And I know I have some in here. So this is all my recordings, all my videos. Let's just pick out one here. Bookings. If I click on, open this up, it'll open up again in stream. And transcript, it looks like it's already been generated. And then I can go and edit. So if it wasn't there, I would click on my video settings. And here is transcript and caption. So I would open that up and I could just say toggle it on to generate a transcript. And it'll automatically generate it for you. Okay, if you didn't know about that. The next two, I'm only have a couple more things because I want to get into Excel. Speaking of accessibility, we really want to focus on that. I probably have some more information next year coming out. We wanted to show off some accessibility. One thing, in Teams meetings, there's an option now you can have sign language view in Teams meetings. And let me just show you that. Let me turn this on. Sign language view in Teams meetings. So the way that works, when you turn it on, and you can have up to 2 signers during your meeting, and those signers, you'll under the setting, you can say these 2 people are the people who can be signing. They will always stay on your screen, and then they'll probably just go back and forth on who can sign. And of course, you can turn on the transcript. Okay. The last thing I want to show you, and we've had it for a while. Some people weren't aware of the proper way to, or not a proper, but a way to do forms. So if you do forms, this might be something that you find beneficial. So let's say that I'm in a team and I want to create a form here within this channel. Normally what we do is we go out to office.com and we go out to forms and we just start generating a form. So here's forms. We'll just click on this and say, I want to create a new form, right? But then all the data is saved in an Excel file that you could, you can go out and find the results and then download it or share the results. A better way to start a form is you can either do it in your OneDrive, or if you want to do it within a team, you do it in a channel. I would simply come up here to New and say Forms for Excel. So here when I do that, it's going to say Forms for Excel. What do you want to call your Excel file? I'll just say this is my Forms demo file. Okay, so that's going to be the name of the Excel file. It will also be the name of my form. So now once that comes up, I'm going to start my demo form, and I can always come here and I can rename it, something else. It doesn't matter. And I can add my question, multiple choice. What is your favorite color? We'll just use that. And it has a little AI, a little artificial intelligence. So as I start to type a color in, it'll start picking out some options. Okay. That's not what I want to show you. But I want to go ahead and now this is what I have. So I have a form, and on the back end, member, I have that Excel document. So as I start submitting answers back in Teams, I actually have this active spreadsheet. So I can easily share this spreadsheet with people who are interested in the results. Now anybody in my team can see this. I can also, like I mentioned, you can do it from within within OneDrive. All right, enough of that. Let's get into Excel. And I have a sample document that I already have prepared. So the first thing I want to talk about, lot of people don't realize, haven't seen the templates. So there's a couple little tips I'm going to show you before we jump into the pivot tables and the XLOOKUP. When you go start a file, on the new type of file, be sure to check out your templates they have down here. Like, you could really impress some people if you look at this, like loan amortization schedule. So if I click on this, I can create a nice loan amortization spreadsheet just based on my template. So if you're looking at a loan, you can just fill out this information, and it has all the formulas for you. So be sure to check out your templates. The next thing I want to show you is something that's fairly new. It's called text before or text after. So here, if I hit the equal and I say, I want to see the text before, and you'll see it here, and I'll hit the tab. So text before, and I'll give it a comma. So I'll say text before. In this text field, I want all the text before the comma, okay, which is brown, and then I can just take this and I can, of course, drag it down. Or maybe you want to do all the text, maybe you want the first name. So say text after, and in this case, I will do in this field here, I'll do a comma, and then I'll do a open quote, comma, space, and then the close, and I'll get the first name. Okay, so you might check out some options under that text before, and there's other ones. I won't spend too much time here. Text join, text split. The next thing I have about 5 little tips. The next thing is the drop-down list. Some people have asked about how do you do a drop-down list. So let me just do this drop-down list. Let's say that I want to enter the factory locations for these items, okay? So what I could do is I could, so I want all that information in here. Let me go up to data, and under the data validation, we'll go to data validation. I want to allow a list in here. And the list I'm going to allow, the source is going to come from right here. So from this list, I want to make my selection and place it in here, okay? So now what I have, I can come to this cell, there's a drop down, and I can just choose, okay, this is going to be Munich, this is going to be Shanghai. So this is how you can quickly make a drop down list, and you can fill out this information, okay? The next thing we have is to delete some blank rows. Blank rows. So let's say I don't have very many here, and I could go through here and delete them pretty easy. But let's say I have a long spreadsheet with a lot of rows. So the shortcut, I can go to home. Let me just show you the normal way of doing this. If I go to home, and I can do a find and select. I never do it this way because I know the shortcut. But anyway, find and select, and I can go to. Okay, I can do that. Or I can just, from the main menu, just hit Control G, and that's just go to is all I was doing. So from here, if I click Special, I'm going to select that I want to find all of the blanks. So it's going to find all the blanks. So I can delete these rows now by hitting the Control and minus. And it says, okay, what do you want to do? You want to delete the rows. So I want to shift the rows. Let's just say shift the cells up. And now I've deleted all my blank rows. So that's it. If you have a lot of spread, rather than going through it, you can just hit, go and then Control minus to delete your rows. The next thing I wanted to show you is, let's do a flash fill here. So flash fill, there's different ways to do it. The way that I do it easily is, I'll tell you what, let's just do this. If I highlight this and if I drag this down, I say I only want the weekdays. Well, you notice it does every day. This little button at the bottom, I could drop that down and I can say I could flash fill it, but here I just want to fill it with weekdays. So you can do flash fill, you can do weekdays. But flash fill, what it does is if I say I want this in Charlie Brown, if I copy that down, it's going to do Charlie Brown. But if I click on this here, this button and say flash fill it, it will pick up what I did and it'll do the same thing for every cell. So flash fill is a great option there. Okay, that's all the little tricks I was going to show you. Let's jump right into XLOOKUP first. XLOOKUP, if you ever use like D for vertical or H for horizontal lookup, they've combined those. It's the next generation of V and H lookup. It's called XLOOKUP. So when you are working with either XLOOKUP or a pivot table, one thing, there's three things you want to make sure that you do. I always like to create a table. And in order to have a table, you want to make sure that each row has a heading, right? You don't want any empty rows or empty columns, and don't have any subtotals or totals in it, but you just want to create a table. So you could just come here within the table, and if you go up to insert, I can insert a table. Or it shows here you can just hit Control T. I usually hit Control T, but I just want to show you where that's at. So here it finds your table. And the reason, and it says that it has headers, the reason you want to create a table is if I just did everything by, you know, A1 through I11, then if I put more rows in there, I might miss on the added rows. If I create it as a table, then that table will expand as you add data, okay? So I'm going to go back here to my inventory, and I've already named this table here, and it's called, let me go back to home. It's called table data, okay? So I already have table data. Now, let me show you what XLOOKUP can do. So I'm going to look at item and price and look at the designer here. In the past, you always had to have what you're searching for in the leftmost column. But let's say that I'm going to look up designer and I want to return item and price. So I will say equals XLOOKUP. That's the new thing. And I'm going to hit my tab. What value do I want to look up? I want to look up this value. And then it says, where is this lookup value at? Well, I'm going to find it in this section right here. You'll see it's table data. That's because I named my table, and it knows it's in the designer column. And I'm going to hit a comma. And oops, that's a period. Let's try comma. And then it says, what do you want to return? Well, I'm going to return, in the past, you could only return one at a time. I'm going to return both of these. So I want to return the item and the price. Okay. And then I'm going to hit close parenthesis. So here I have my item and my price, and I'm going to drag those down. And you notice that this one, June Kelly, I have Greg Kelly here. And I'm going to show you how you can fix this later. Well, some people have asked a good question. They say, well, what happens if, right here I have my item and my price, but what happens if I want to have, what happens if the ones I want aren't next to each other? Okay, so let's look at item, let's look at price, and then let's also look at quantity and stock. Let's do this, QIS, quantity and stock. The way that I do this is, let me take all of this out, and I'll just start from scratch and show you what I do. So I'd say XLOOKUP, have that. I'm going to look up, again, the designer. Lookup array is, comma, lookup array is I'm going to look in this, right? Comma, But now I want to choose which columns I want to include in my results. So that is actually choose, tab that, and I'm going to choose one. I'm going to have 3 different ones. So I'll say I'm going to order them in the first one, the second one, and the third one. I'm going to have 3 different columns I'm going to pick from. And then I just specify the columns that I want. Okay. So I want item. So I'm going to choose this one. And then I will put a comma. And then I'm going to want the price. And I'll put a comma. And finally, I'm going to do the quantity in stock. And then I'm going to close that. And I'll make sure that also that closes the choose. And then I need to close the X lookup. So there'll be a couple of those. So now I have the item, the unit price, and the quantity in stock. And then I can take this down and I'll get this. I still have the NA. So before I do that, let me delete this. I'm going to go back and I'm going to modify this. So this will say the value. And then if I go to the next one, it says if found. Okay, so if I hit a comma there, it says if not found, if you see that right here. So if you don't find the designer like June Kelly, there's no June Kelly here. So what should I do? On the item, I could just put in, if I want to, let's put a curly bracket and I'll say in quotes, I'll say invalid, or I'll put designer missing. Designer missing. That'll be in the first column. Let's close that off. In the second column, I'll just put price is 0 and 0. And then I'll close that off. So that's if not found. Okay, so now if I copy this down, it has all the information. This designer is missing. I don't have this designer, and the price 0, quantity in stock is 0. So now I can, if again here, if you look at this, I have 3 of them. You can just have 2 and jump around. You can have as many as you want. What makes it nice is just that you can have as many as you want. You can, designer missing. I was able to add that. I also don't need what I'm searching for in that first column. It could be in any column. So these are just some examples of X lookup. Okay. Now what I want to do is we want to do some pivot tables, right? So how about we are going to, well, we'll just use the same spreadsheet. So the one thing that we can do, there's a couple of ways we can do this. You can look, I always encourage people to look at either here where it says analyze data. So you can analyze data and it gives you some, you can insert some pivot tables based on this, or you can ask a question, what is the percentage of total reorder level for each factory location? And so if I type something up here, here's an item with total reorder level higher than 200. But if I select one of these, I can say, yeah, let's insert that pivot chart. Okay. I picked a pivot chart. I'm in a table. Let's insert a pivot table. And it's going to put it here on a new one. Okay. So if we're lucky, we can find a pivot table that's already ready for us. So I'm going to right click. Let me right click on this because it puts it as a new one, and I'm just delete this. Delete this one. Okay. Another thing you could do is come up here and we could click on insert, and here's some recommended pivot tables. So here's some that we can start with. There's a lot of different ones. And again, as soon as I click on one, hit OK, it's going to make a new sheet for us, right? Let's put on a blank sheet. But I'm going to make one from scratch, and then like I can with any of these, I can modify these fields of what shows up. So you can start with a recommended one and modify it. But let's just start from scratch. So here is our table. I'm going to come up here to insert, and I'm going to say I'm just going to do a blank pivot table. It's going to be on a new worksheet. I could put on the existing one, but I'm going to do it on a new worksheet. And it says, yeah, we're going to use the table data because we've already named that. If I add more fields, it'll adjust my pivot table. So let's just go to pivot table and let's just see what we have here. So depending on how you want to look at your data, let's say that I want to look at my different brands. And I also want to look at those prices, okay? You can also pick how you want to look at your fields. I think the default might be the first one, like this. So you can hit your gearbox. I like the second one. I just like it side by side just so I can see everything. So that is some options there, okay? So also on the sum of your unit, these are the prices. If you want to make this in a dollar format, if you right click here, rather than saying format cells, if I say a format cell, it'll just be for that one cell. I want to use number format because if I use number format, it'll stay with the pivot table. So let's say this is currency and I don't need decimal places. So now I have that the dollars amount there. So just know right click. I will tell you that is your friend. I can also, let's say that I want to look at my quantity in stock. So right now I have my quantity in stock. These are in my columns. All this is in my columns. My brand's in my rows. So you could take and drag these wherever you wish, right? I can break it down, my quantity in stock, by the price. That doesn't make much sense. But just kind of play around with it. You can also always take these, drag it out, and it'll remove it from your view here. Okay. One thing I like to do, let's say the sum of the unit price. I can always take an item like sum of unit price, and I can put it in there more than once. So if I say unit price, let me put that in here. So it's in there twice. And you might ask, well, why would you do that? Maybe I want to see the percent of the grand total. So if I say 60, this is the grand total, what percentage of these do I have? So if I right click on this and I can say show values as a percent of the grand total. So I can also right click and let's say I need to sort this, and it sorts smallest to largest. So I can see here's my sum of the unit price. This is my total price based on that percentage, 100%. What percent is this? Okay. If you show more than one in a row, you get subtotals. And like I had showed you, let me just go ahead and take out this example I just did here. But if I have more than one thing in a row, like the brand, let's click on the item here. Let's put the item in a row. So you will get subtotals, quantity and stock. So you'll get the subtotal of each here, and then you get the overall total. So for the Fender, I got 211, and here's the breakdown. For the Gibson, 283. Here's the breakdown, one Ludwig. You see how that works. So anytime you have more than in a row, you get kind of a subtotal based on the total. Okay. Something else. I'm just looking through my notes of things that people have asked about pivot tables. Oh, I know one that people really like. Kind of cool. Let me get the item out of here just so you can see it better. Let's say at the factory location. So if I had the factory location in here, you can see, where each of these are at. Something people like is I can right click on factory location and let's make a slicer. Let me show you what a slicer does. So a slicer will put this chart out here. And now I can say, okay, what is at the Munich location? What's at the Seattle location? And so and you could, if you want to select more than one, you can click on this and then I can just say, what are these 3 locations? Okay. Also let me turn off that filter now so they're all available to choose. Okay, it's one at a time, or just turn it off. You also have slicer options, so you can modify what your slicer looks like here. I can say, let's make this a 2-column, and I can shorten this up. However you want your slicer to look. So this is something nice to have on your pivot table. Let me go back to our inventory. And I'm going to insert, I just want to add some in here so you can see that my information will grow. That's fine, drums. I now have 20 of those. There we go. Sorry, I had to go to data refresh all. Okay. So all the information was in there. I just had to refresh this sheet. And then you see that. Well, hopefully you all can hear my mic. All right, well, that's all I have for today, but let me go back and check and make sure, hopefully this recording picked up the sound, because I have some saying I could not hear the message. So thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions about pivot tables or XLOOKUP, be sure to reach out to me.